non-stop court action in the realm of fantasy sports. Today in New York, the legal rulings were flying. First, there was the judge who stopped DraftKings and FanDuel from doing business. Then later in the day, there was the appeals judge who blocked the first judge. The result is the fantasy games can continue for now. The New York Attorney General maintains they are illegal. A further decision in the case is expected in early January. My guest is Michael Coyne, Dean of the Mass School of Law. He can sort out this entire mess, I'm absolutely certain, right?
I can try.
Okay, so first of all, this is about a lot of money.
An awful lot of money, and that's why the fight will go on and likely spill not just outside the courtroom, but into the legislatures as well.
So the issue at hand is whether or not this FanDuel, this fantasy betting, this DraftKings, if it's legal game of skill or illegal gambling.
Yes. The way the New York statute reads is that if it is a game of chance, even if there's some level of skill involved, but if for the most part, the competition is beyond the player's control or influence, then it could constitute gambling under New York law. And the trial court judge looked at the situation very carefully, very extensively, and he determined that in order to protect New York consumers, that it is a game of chance. It is, in fact, gambling. It is not protected by the Federal Act. And the judge issued an injunction barring both of them from operating in New York.
And I imagine the New York Attorney General wanted this so that this predatory business was going to not be able to hurt New York residents until there was a ruling. But of course, FanDuel and DraftKings turned right around and what?
Well, they received a stay from the appeals court. I mean, what they're arguing is that the status quo was that they were doing business, had done for many years in New York, and should be allowed to continue. The Attorney General has a very strong case, and I think the judge's decision showed that. He believed that the Attorney General is trying to protect New York consumers from what he sees as consumer fraud. They think they have a chance at winning, but the reality is, just as Attorney General Healy pointed out about a month ago, is that the people that win at these are a very small percentage of professional gamblers, really less than 1% of the group of people who engage in this win, and they are oftentimes professional gamblers.
You know, the associated business like PayPal, Bank of America, who are doing the transactions on the money that goes from the participant to the company, they're sort of left in flux as well, because they don't want to be aiding and abetting an illegal gambling operation, but they also don't want to not be servicing one of their major clients.
No, but they really don't have much of a choice here, because the injunction will prohibit them from operating the fantasy sports. The people who would process the payment potentially are also then likely going to be found in violation of the order. The Attorney General has also sued to try and prevent the providers of the financing and the like to stop taking consumers in New York their money, their entrance fees. And if you want to be safe, then the PayPal and all the rest will in fact not participate with FanDuel and DraftKings.
What happens if I'm a New York State resident and I lost $2,000 and we find out that it is gambling, it is illegal? Can I sue one of the DraftKings or FanDuel to get my money back, and can everybody else?
Yeah, based on the decision today and based on the information we have, it's a very large case, at least as those people, the plaintiffs would see it, of consumer fraud. You've told me I have one thing in mind here. I should be able to make some money or at least enjoy a level playing field. And the fact is that the data that's now being unearthed says that's not likely at all. That's why the Attorney General sought the injunction. And I'm a bit surprised, frankly, that the appeals court overturned it as quickly as they did. But it was a single justice. He says that let's give them time to be able to sort this out. Unfortunately, that time coincides with the end of the football season, so they will have the final 4 weeks of the season in both New York and elsewhere to be able to continue to operate. And if the Attorney General of New York is right, then in the meanwhile, New York consumers are being harmed.
What happens if New York finds out, decides it's illegal? How does that affect the rest of the states?
Well, the question is, each state has the right to determine what is and isn't gambling within their own jurisdictions. But you know, there's always there's a saying in the legal business that as New York goes, so goes the rest of the country. Same thing with California. Mass, New York, California tend to be leaders with respect to the law and the like, and so they're looked to for guidance. I could see many other states following New York's lead, or perhaps if Massachusetts gets out in front of it and puts those regulations in place, those states will also have an option to follow Massachusetts as well.
You know, to give people an idea of the scope of the money, you and I were trying to hash out exactly how much it was, and I think it was just DraftKings alone said that in October they had 113,000 users, and one can extrapolate that you might have that many users per month over the year, and there was anywhere from $100 million to $200 million in revenue. That's astonishing.
It is astonishing. There is a huge amount of money wagered on these games, and I think that's why I think it's got to be regulation and not banning it, because what we're seeing is the technology allows a younger audience to really be able to participate and enjoy this type of activity, probably to a much greater extent than going in and pulling the handle on a slot machine. This is what they enjoy doing. They spend a lot of time doing it. We ought to, as the state, figure out a way to make some money and regulate it and make sure the consumers are protected.
There's so much more to talk to you about.
Oh, sure.
I'm sure there will be more rulings between now and January 4th. They'll have you back. I'm becoming a DraftKings expert just by de facto.
Good.
But you're the man. Thank you, Michael Coyne.